you could please tell me about a typical day teaching in San Pedro.
Sure. When the students arrive, they're normally dropped off in a golf cart by their parents. Some of them do walk or bike to school, though, the ones that live close enough. And the ones that are probably 4 or 5 years old the ones that are 4 or 5 get dropped off instead of walking or biking. They arrive at the school that I'm teaching at anywhere between 8 and 8:30, although there are some tardies. At 8:30, the bell rings, although it's not always 8:30. Sometimes it's 8:25 or 8:35. So whenever the principal feels like ringing the bell, they ring the bell. And we have assembly every morning from 8:30 to about 8:40 or 8:45. And during assembly, a class is chosen to lead the assembly, and they start out with the Lord's Prayer, the Belize National Anthem, and then they either recite a Bible verse or sing a song that they've learned in class that is related to God somehow. Then after assembly, the whole school is dismissed to go to their classrooms and get started with the day. Although I know a lot of teachers don't get started until about 9 o'clock. Even my teacher will say, oh, it's 8:45, we'll have rest until 9 o'clock, or we'll relax, or tell me about your weekend. So it's very relaxed and laid back, a lot more so than I expected. Whenever the teacher does get started in the morning, we start with language arts from 9 to 10. And language arts consists of spelling, grammar, reading, phonics, and that's it. Reading comprehension, yes, reading comprehension, which is different because in my internship in America, I never once taught phonics. I never once taught A, apple, B. I never taught that at all. And I had the same age group relatively close. So it's very surprising the amount of focus that they have on phonics and grammar as well. I've taught grammar every day, basically, since I've been here. But the funny thing is, they don't talk. Like, they learn proper grammar, but they don't talk that way, and as well as phonics. They focus so much on phonics, but the kids aren't reading or talking the way that they're learning. But that could just be the language barrier part of that. At 10 o'clock, there is a break, and students are dismissed from the classroom for 30 minutes. And during that break, they stay at school. Not many people leave. They play on the playground, run around, get really hot and sweaty, play on the swings, play catch, and get snacks. A lot of them do eat and drink all throughout the day. They're allowed to leave the class and buy soda, buy chips, buy candy if they want. They come back at 10:30 from break, and then we get started in science and social studies and health and Spanish. And they rotate between the day, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and then Tuesday and Thursday. They just switch off whichever the teacher wants to do, basically. And in social studies, they're learning about their ancestors. That's what the curriculum is for the standard 2 that I'm in, is learning about their ancestors. So it's kind of like we do American history, I would say, is what they're learning about Belize history. And in science, they switch topics every week, anything from simple machines to electricity. In health, they're learning about worms, which is really nasty because I've learned where not to eat from the worms discussions that we've had. So that's health. And they do anything literally from learning about AIDS and safe sex to worms and stuff, which is surprising. And the grade above me, the intern, had to talk about AIDS in his class. So very surprising. At 12 o'clock, the students are dismissed for lunch, and they get an hour for lunch. And a lot of them leave. I would say all but probably 10 or 15 students leave for lunch. And they either walk or bike home if they live close enough, or they're picked up from their parents again. And I was shocked at how many parents came. It's like the whole island has a lunch break, and they come and pick up the kids for lunch and take them either home or to a nearby restaurant. Although some parents bring lunch with them and eat it at the school. And for the 10 or so students that do stay, they can buy lunch at the canteen, and it's a full meal. They have to let the lunch lady or the cook know in the morning if they're going to stay, and they'll cook lunch for them. At 1 o'clock, the students return from lunch, and the bell rings again, although it's sometimes not exactly at 1. The bell rings, and students go to class for the remainder of the day. And from 1 to 2, we do math every single day for an hour. That never changes Monday through Friday. And At 2 o'clock, we have what is considered specials or resources, although the only thing they do is PE and art. We are supposed to have a creative writing one, but I haven't seen that done yet. We've just done handwriting, cursive and stuff. And we're supposed to have library, which is interesting because they just take a book off the shelf and read. It's not really library. And then at 3 o'clock, the bell rings and the students are dismissed. Parents pick them up. Some students stay around, play on the playground. Some leave. Some walk, some bike. It's very relaxed. Dismissal is.
Oh, man. I've been stifling that for like 3 minutes.
Oh.
I felt like I was ready to explode.
Oh.
Back from commercial break.
Oh,
And
That's how
now.
it is. It's all the time.
wow.
Someone
You gotta
has to
hold it.
cough, you hold it, you hold it, you hold it.
And it tickles like crazy.
Mic goes off.
People
Oh, gosh,
sneezing.
I'm sitting here.
Do you want some water?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
You're doing fine. Try not to sway too much.
Okay.
I mean, you're doing fine.
Yeah.
If we had to, we could lean you on the chair, but let's not.
Yeah.
I might just do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that'll work.
Okay.
Yeah, it'd be easier.
Yeah, that'll break you.
I do
So
sway.
we're still rolling.
Okay.
That's good.
Katie, how do you plan your instruction around the curriculum that you just mentioned?
The curriculum that the teacher,
Follows. How do you plan what you actually teach?
I plan what I teach based on what the teacher tells me the day before. He hasn't given me a curriculum or necessarily let me see it, but he has told me, tomorrow we're teaching phonics and I need you to teach the long vowel sounds. And so I know that's in the curriculum somewhere, but it's not like I'm giving a pacing guide or anything like that based on what he tells me. Last Friday we sat down and he gave me the plans for Monday through Friday, and he gave me a story to read on Monday, the phonics lesson for Tuesday, the grammar lesson for Wednesday, and the spelling lesson for Thursday. So that's what I was given. I wasn't given necessarily a curriculum. And for math, he gave me one workbook and said do a page a day. So that's kind of what I've used. Okay, tonight we need to do area, or tomorrow we need to do area, so I'll plan something for that. And I'm assuming that's following the curriculum, the workbook that they have is in order with that. So
What kind of teaching strategies do you use?
teaching strategies that I've used teaching in Belize are mostly whole group instruction and direct instruction, lectures, class discussions, and things along that line, as opposed to I haven't used much group activity at all because I don't have the materials or the resources. I've done hands-on things, but I haven't done necessarily interactive things where they can really experience an activity. It's been hard to plan that. I have forgotten the question.
Kind of teaching strategies.
Another. Sorry.
You could describe the lesson that you taught that we observed and how you planned for that and then how you think it went.
The teaching strategies, like I said, that I've used are mostly whole group and lecture. I will take the concept that I want them to know at the end of the day and really just think about everything that I can tell them to get them to understand it. So yesterday I wanted to teach summarizing, the concept of summarizing and being able to take a lot of information and narrow it down into a little bit. So I wanted to teach that, so I took the one resource that I had to possibly teach that, which was the Important book. And I love using that to teach summarizing because the author does a really good job. So I started with just giving them the word summary and saying, this is the word we're going to learn about. Does anyone know what it is, or have you heard of it? And some of them had, but they didn't know what it meant, and that was fine, and I liked that. I try to give them some sort of visual for everything, even if it's a picture that I draw, which is normally not good. But it's tough because there are no textbooks. Like, they have workbooks, but no textbooks, so there's no pictures for anything. So I have to draw it or find it somehow. But I try to give them something just because I know there are different learners out there that have to see some sort of picture and not just a word and not just hear it. So I try to do that for them. And for instance, yesterday I drew just a funnel on the board to show them that a funnel is something that a lot of stuff goes into, but a little bit comes out at the bottom. And so when I gave them that metaphor, I guess you could say, or that picture, they could better understand that. And I've done that numerous times, given them some sort of picture or drawing to relate what we're learning about so they can understand it. And I try to do a lot of inquiry-based lessons and discovery learning with letting them feel like they're the ones figuring it out. I did that with a perimeter lesson that I taught last week. Gave them a bunch of construction paper taped together. And I said, I want to find out how far it is around it. Like, what can I do? I was like, I need to know. Let's pretend this is a park. What can I do? And they, on their own, were like, well, after like 10 minutes, they're like, we could just find out each side and then add it together. And that's how far it is around it. And I was like, oh my goodness, that's exactly what I wanted you to know. And so then they taught themselves perimeter just by me giving them an assignment and asking, what I could do to find it out. So I like doing that.
What do you do to meet the diverse learning needs of the students in your class here in San Pedro? If any kind of, are you able to do any kind of modifications or?
It's a lot harder to meet the needs of diverse learners because I have a much broader range of students in my class. I have students that cannot read, that are struggling to make it through a short sentence, and then I have students that are reading like the Chronicles of Narnia at home. So that in itself has been a challenge to meet the needs of diverse learners. A strategy that I've tried to use is at least at the end of every lesson or at the end of every subject is give 15 minutes of time for them to work on their homework so that I can go to my 2 students who really struggle and work one-on-one. And I would say one-on-one interaction is the main way I've met the needs of my diverse learners. I haven't, unfortunately, been able to differentiate nearly as much because it's hard to plan separate activities or have separate materials for them. They're just not available. It's hard enough to find materials for the whole class. But I would say working one-on-one is how I meet the needs of my diverse learners.
Switching back to what you thought before you came, how have your perceptions changed, if at all, from before you came to Belize and now that you're here, about what it would be like to teach here and to live here?
My perceptions on what it would be like to teach here have definitely changed a lot. I thought school would be a much stricter environment, a much more structured environment. I have always heard that America has a really lax education system compared to other parts of the world. And I think that we probably do, that America probably does compared to maybe European countries and I know Japan and China. But apparently Belize is not one of the most structured, and that's okay because the kids are still learning and they're still getting done what they absolutely have to. My perceptions have changed that Can you repeat it one more time?
Sure.
Okay.
Think back to what you thought it'd be like to work here, or to teach here, or to live here. That was one, about it being structured. Are there other perceptions that you held before coming that have totally changed?
One of the perceptions that I've had before I came was that I would come into the classroom and be seen as someone who's really smart and is from America and knows a lot about teaching. And while I do feel like I'm respected and looked up to, I don't think that either the teachers or the students look at me as an expert, which is totally fine because I'm not even a real teacher. I am surprised by how interchangeable the teachers are and how interchangeable I feel. I feel like when I leave, I know I'll be missed and I know the students will miss me, but when I leave, it's kind of like, oh, back to the teacher they had before. And I know that my teacher leaves and goes and covers for like a different classroom for a week, and it's 3 grades higher than what he teaches. It's very interchangeable. I'm surprised at how little I know compared to the teachers here. As far as they're maybe not as trained on methods of teaching. I don't think they have the training to actually teach, but I feel like they know content way more than myself or teachers in America, which has been surprising. For instance, my teacher knows the entire social studies curriculum. He knows everything possible about math, everything about science. He can stand up and lecture for an hour about anything in science. So he knows content, but the fact he's lecturing, I guess, obviously shows his methods are not nearly what they are for American teachers.
Do you know what kind of training he's had?
My teacher has gone to college. Sorry, I'll start that over. My teacher has gone to college. He graduated high school in San Pedro when he was 17 years old, and he immediately joined the police academy for 11 years. And after that, he decided he wanted to be a teacher, so he went to the Belize Junior College on the mainland for 2 years and got his associate's degree in teaching, or what's equivalent to an associate's degree. And he is continuing his education now to get a full degree, and he's doing that online during the summer.
Is there anything you wish you had known before coming here?
About the schools?
Anything to prepare you for this?
I wish that I had known that the school's classroom management plan is totally different than in America. And something I've learned and discovered about that is one of the reasons it's so hard to have an adequate classroom management plan that keeps the students focused is because there are so little rewards here. In America, if you want to reward a student, you can do a lot. You can give them candy, stickers. So there's so many rewards, like it's endless. And here, like I want to give students a reward, and I'm like, here's a pencil. I mean, here's a pat on the back. Like I don't have anything. And I wish I had known to bring things to reward them, or what they use as rewards, or how they keep them monitored. The classroom management is just totally different. Kids are they're lively, they're energetic, and they're constantly on the go. And keeping them in their seats is a struggle in itself. You have to learn what to say, how to say it, and what to do. And you definitely have to be firm and strict. And I like that I am firm and strict, but I can turn around and they still love me and they want to hug me. So.
Is there anything else you wish you had known?
There is. I'm trying to think of how to word it. I wish I would have known before I came to Belize to teach that the needs of diverse learners are not adequately met at all. In 3 of the classes at my school, they have 1 student with Down syndrome in each of the classes, and they let that student sit at the desk by him or herself and literally do nothing all day. And that's just one example of how, and it's not their fault, they don't have the resources, the materials, the training to teach that. And that student's in there with these other kids trying to learn on the same. And just like that, I have students, like I said, that can't read or add, but they're in there with students who are way above grade level. Whereas in America, it'd be like, okay, you're going to be pulled out or you're going to be in a separate class. I wish I had known the range of students that I would have in my classroom in all the classes.
Did you know before coming which grade level you would be teaching?
I did not know which grade level I would be teaching before I came. I knew that I would have a choice once I got here. I knew it wasn't like decided and I just didn't know. And I also knew that they would ask me if I wanted the younger grades or the higher grades when I got here.
Did you do anything to prepare to come?
For the schools, before I came, I wanted to do things to prepare. For instance, I wanted to bring children's books and I wanted to bring novels to read to them, but I had no idea if I would be with the 4 or 5-year-olds or the 13 and 14-year-olds. It was hard to prepare what to bring. I did bring just 3 short books that I like and can do a lot with. We brought school supplies for them that I knew they would need, and I personally brought pens and pencils for my kids just because I didn't know if they would even have that. I knew about their education system I just looked it up online. I knew that they had 2 infant classes that's equivalent to kindergarten and 1st grade, and then I knew they called them standard classes, standards 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And I also knew that they did not have middle school. It was just elementary school and then high school. I knew that kids could drop out right after elementary school. They could leave when they're 14 and not go. So,
Ask about the accommodation.
You sure?
Yeah, I mean, we're here,
Yeah.
I mean, let me go to a wide shot. Maybe preface that we're shooting this in your room for a reason to come.
You ready? Okay. Katy, if you could describe what it's like to live at Pedro's Inn.
wow. Living at Pedro's Inn has been fun. It's been like living on a dorm as a freshman, which is fun. I've liked having a roommate again because you always have someone to talk to. At the same time, it's hard to get privacy around here, which is okay for the time being. We share a room. Obviously, we have 2 beds in here. We have a TV that doesn't work. We have AC, thank God, because it's really hot. And I see Pedro's Inn as a nice place specifically because it's cool as far as temperature-wise. It's very cool, and I'll come here hot and I'll cool down. It's fun because there's a pool. There's a restaurant. It's fun living on a hall with 20 people because we'll poke our head out of the door and say, hey, who wants to go to dinner, or what time are you leaving for school? So always hanging out with friends.
Like the restaurant. They have a restaurant.
What else should I say?
Yeah.
We are only not even half a mile, a quarter of a mile from the ocean, which is nice. We're close to anything we could want, restaurant, food. So, yeah.
Good. Nice. Good job.
Thank you.
Nice. Very nice.
Turn the AC back on.
Yeah. Very nice. Good job.
Yeah, I cannot put my thoughts into words sometimes.
No, you
That'd be
can't.
great.
Oh, this
Thank
is
you.
awesome. That's like,
Not at all. Nice. Yeah, these are special.
I'm
LED
seeing, like,
lights that we do.
patterns.
Turn the fan on, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it helps me. Yeah, and I'm gonna. I won't say who said